Good morning, Abundant Life. This is Pastor Chris. Today we're going to be looking at Romans chapter 13, verses 11 down through 14. Way back when, over 50 years ago, in 1974, it was considered one of the greatest years for movies. Now, the nominees for Best Picture for the Academy Awards that year were some of the best American films ever made. There was The Godfather Part 2, Chinatown, The Conversation, and The Towering Inferno. Okay, which one of those doesn't belong? If you look at pure statistics, you will see that the 20 greatest quarterbacks of all time, but based on the system they use for rating quarterbacks, there are names in there like Joe Montana. Does he belong there? Absolutely. Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, and Matt Schaub. And if you're thinking, who? Exactly. Which one of these doesn't belong? Which one of these is the guy that makes you say, how did he get in there? Now, in this passage that we're going to look at, Paul tells us to put away sins and to stop living in the dark. That's good advice. And he says that the way you do that is by shining the light of Jesus on those sins. So then Paul comes up with a list of some really awful, damaging, and despicable sins. Now here's where things get tricky because Paul throws in a couple other sins that, while, yeah, they're sins, and yes, they're wrong, they just don't seem to belong on this same list with these other genuinely terrible things. He says we're to put away drunkenness, yeah. Orgies, yeah. Debauchery, yeah. And jealousy. Wait, jealousy? Is it, okay, jealousy's not good, but is it that bad? Some sins don't seem so dangerous. So why did Paul include them on his list? It doesn't seem like something like jealousy should really be on a list with things like debauchery and drunkenness. And he starts out by asking the church to practice daytime behavior. I don't have to explain to you what he means by daytime behavior. People simply behave differently in the daytime than they would at night. Look at verses 11 through the first part of verse 13. And do this, understanding the present time. The hour has already come for you to wake up from your slumber, because our salvation is nearer now than when we first believed. The night is nearly over, the day is almost here. So let us put aside the deeds of darkness and put on the armor of light. Let us behave decently, as in the daytime, not carousing and in drunkenness. All right. Where will people behave better? At night or in the daylight? Obviously, there's some funny business going on at nighttime because it's dark and you can get away with things. People can't see you as well. But Paul says we should live like it's daytime and that we can be seen. And this means that you are held accountable. If you're going to live for God, if you're going to be accountable, that means living a life like it's broad daylight and that people can see you. Yes, you are a witness, you are an ambassador. How you behave reflects on God and what people think of Jesus. You're being held accountable, and that makes you sin less. You won't try to get away with things if the boss is right there in the room with you, will he? That's the Christian life, remembering that God is there with us and living like he's right there with us. All right, now let's read some of those sins that Paul talks about. Sins like getting mad at your cell phone because it constantly turns off. He said in verse 13, let us behave decently as in the daytime, not in carousing and drunkenness, not in sexual immorality and debauchery, not in dissension and jealousy. All right? If you know God is watching you, you're going to avoid the horrible sins of darkness. And then Paul lists those sins: drunkenness, debauchery, orgies, jealousy. Wait, jealousy? Dissension? do they belong on a list with these other far more serious sins? If they lived in Rome, they knew debauchery was going on. They knew there were horrible and damaging sins. And no Christian needs to be told that, you know what, guys, maybe drunken orgies are not the best idea. So we all agree that those kind of things are bad for our faith. But then Paul throws in, again, jealousy and dissension. No one is saying those things are okay or that they're healthy. But it's a little like saying, if you have a choice between having a Twinkie, Twinkies aren't good for you, or having heroin. Come on. Twinkies are bad for you, but they're not on the same level as a dangerous drug. Okay, so Paul, why are you lumping these terrible sins in with the sins that are kind of lighter seeming? Why? Tune in next time and we will find out. Till then, have a great day.